All right. Welcome, everybody. It is my pleasure to announce Antonio Tessitore, Coach Tony, as I like to call him. He fought in the 2014 National Championship, won Junior Golden Glove and Golden Glove tournaments, silver belt, and fought in the U.S. Olympic trials. And he is now a U.S. Olympic style coach. So, welcome, Tony. Appreciate you being here, man.
Great to be here, Lupe. Great to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah. And so Tony was my first coach when I first got into boxing this year, right? Beginning of this year. Yeah, I mean, time flies. And this was when I was in Spokane, and now I'm in the Seattle area. So miss you, coach.
Miss you too, big dog.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So let's get started, man. So, who is Antonio Tessitore?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I'm still trying to think about that. So, who is Antonio Tessitore? Antonio Tessitore is an individual that has a desire to succeed in whatever he does. I want to build anybody up around me who is on the same path, wants to do better for themselves, right? I am a loving father to my three girls. I have, a family, and I'm the head coach at the Spokane Boxing Gym, and love what I do. I'm also a insurance agent. We're on insurance,
Hmm.
so if you guys need insurance, give me a call. I just, I'm like a shark, man. If I'm not moving, I'm not grooving, and I'll die. And so I'm always moving. I'm always trying to stay busy, excel, and better my life for myself and my girls. So
Awesome. Yeah. And we're definitely going to get into just right the business that you run and the businesses that you have ran in the past. Yeah. And coach, so let's start off with your boxing career. Like how did you get into boxing? Like why boxing?
well, I grew up with with a stepdad. Didn't really know my real dad. My
Mhm.
mom had told me that my real dad was a Golden Gloves champion. My whole family fought, and
Mhm.
uh, when I got a little older, about 8 years old, I started down with Rick at Spokane Boxing.
Mhm.
I went into boxing because I felt like it was a way I could actually meet my real dad, and
Okay.
just started going up from there. And I had a little troubling stint in my teenage years. Got back into it at 20, and I just started to excel from there and grow. I always told myself that, I mean, I'm not going to be a coach, man. I'm going to be a fighter the rest of my life. Father time catches up to you, and injuries happen. And,
Yeah.
coaching now is one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming from a fighting family, I mean, was there any pressure for you to start boxing or it was just like, hey, more of an identity thing where, my dad was a boxer and, I actually just you said it right, as a way to connect with them. Right.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was, and I didn't really um, have a really good relationship with my stepdad as a kid, and you know, I mean, you know, to be honest, I did it because I wanted to protect my family and my mom, from his outbursts.
Mhm.
You know, he did okay as a stepdad, but I mean, I
Mhm.
did it ultimately to protect my family, and to find my real dad. And it's funny because right before my pro debut, I got a call from him.
And how was that phone call? If you don't mind me asking and sharing, how was that phone call like?
That's all right, man. I mean, he was just trying to talk to me. I mean, I met him when I was 18 for the first time. My sister down in Colorado, and through my uncle, his brother, stayed with them for a little bit. But it was more of a, he was more of a friend than a dad, I guess.
Yeah.
But when he called me, I haven't talked to him since. It was like
Yeah.
10 plus years, and then he called me. It was kind of um, I don't know. It was kind of weird. I just
Yeah.
listened to him like, how the hell you get my number, dude? But just shook it off, went in the ring, did my thing. So
Okay. And so is there a relationship now with him or you said you haven't spoken to him in those 10 years?
yeah. So right after my debut, like two years later, I got a call from my sister saying that he was in the hospital on his deathbed,
Oh,
had a
okay.
brain aneurysm. So this was during the George Floyd riots. Me and my daughters flew down during COVID, and I wanted them to see him and see their grandfather,
Yeah.
paternal grandfather, but only my brother, myself, and my sister could go up there. Went up
Yeah.
there, and he was on his deathbed. I mean, and
Yeah.
so I was talking to him, and I was in there by myself with him. I grabbed his hand and told him I forgave him, and I just uh, I appreciate everything he has done because it showed me what
Yeah.
not to be as a father. He started moving after that. It was funny.
Wow.
He started moving.
Wow.
Uh, he's in a nursing home now. I don't talk to him. I just hear from the grapevine. My sister.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shout out to you, coach, in that moment, right? Sounds like you were pretty vulnerable, and how did you feel after you had that, conversation with him?
Good. Felt better. I mean,
Uh,
shrugged it off and just wanted to
yeah.
let him know how I felt because I love my girls. I do anything for them, and I don't see how a parent could not be involved
For sure. For sure.
unless the other parent is keeping the child away.
Mhm.
And I understand that. So,
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that, coach. So let's kind of, and let's get into, so obviously, right, coming from a boxing family, it was a way for you to connect with your dad, and you started boxing so you got away from boxing, but when specifically did you start boxing? How old were you?
I was 8.
How was that experience, right? Just getting into the gym for the first time, and how was that experience?
It was fun, man. It was cool. I remember going down there and a good old Rick yelling at everybody to get their hands up and you know um, seeing older fighters and it was a fun experience and I did it for box for a few years when I was younger and then had a little break and I started going downhill. So
Did you initially find boxing as an outlet? You're just like, hey, this is fun, but I kind of need something else to do.
yeah, when I was 19, 20, that's when it really clicked and
Yeah.
that's when it just became my life.
When the bug hit you.
Yeah, it took me away from
Yeah.
the trouble.
Yeah.
I was going down a bad path.
So talk to me about that, right? So, you tried boxing, right? And then, okay, right. It was okay, right? But it wasn't really, you didn't stick with it, obviously. But, you came back to it eventually in your later teen years. And what brought you back, what you said earlier was you were getting into trouble. What trouble was that?
Well, I went, growing up in, around, a not so, I guess, I felt safe environment. I went to the streets when I was a teenager, looking for, protection and just ended up running with the wrong crowd, thinking that, oh, that these are my boys. It's what's gonna,
Mhm.
protect me. And then I, ended up, just hanging out with the wrong people, wannabe, and then ended up starting to experiment with all types of drugs,
Mhm.
uh, got so bad that I OD'd and they had to resuscitate.
Uh,
And then after that point, man, I had my daughter when I was 18, so
okay.
my oldest. And so when that happened, that overdose happened,
Mhm.
um, I looked myself in the mirror and just knew I needed to be there for her.
Yeah.
And I straightened up.
People suffering from substance use, with addiction, did you feel like that point in your life, was it your rock bottom? We talk about rock bottoms, right? Where, you have an eye awakening moment. Was that it for you?
Oh yeah, that was it, man. I was losing
Mhm.
everything, everybody around me, just drugging, stealing, chasing the next
Mhm.
high. So it was definitely it was either death, prison, or I was gonna straighten up. And I
Mhm.
hit the mini park here in Spokane with
Yeah.
the guys, and I was sitting there, and I thought to myself one day when I had a Four Loco or a 211. It was a Steel Reserve in my hand, and I'm like, this isn't gonna buy me a home. I can't do this the rest
Mhm.
of my life.
Mhm.
You know, kind of started thinking from there, and then ended up, getting clean and went to rehab. Yeah, out of rehab, I didn't want to go back around those individuals, and
Mhm.
I called up uh, Sherman Vassar and Ray Kerwick with
Mhm.
uh, a boxing club that I used to box with, and
Yeah.
they took me in, and I just made that my home.
So what was different about, in the sense of boxing, right? So what was different about getting back into boxing? And this time you're what, 18, 19? So when you at that age, right, getting back into the gym, what kind of just clicked for you to be like, you know what? No, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna make this my career, right? I'm gonna go pro.
It just the hard work, the constant grind of bettering yourself, and the people around me were just so positive, and it's a
Hmm.
beautiful community. I never wanted to go back to where I was, and so I ultimately just, once I started seeing, definition in my arm or my
Yeah.
back, I was like, oh, I got to keep going, man,
Yeah.
keep going. And so I
Yeah.
did that, and just running is so good for you. And when I run, I'm able to think.
Hmm.
And I ran all the time. Just, I worked laborious jobs after work, 16-hour days to the boxing club. I mean, I
Hmm.
was grinding, dude, grinding. And it was when I started winning fights and knew that I had a chin for it, and I just thought to myself that I can go pro, and
Hmm.
that's what I did. And
How, with substance use, right? There's a correlation with just, things going on mentally, right? That I'm sure you were going through with just your upbringing, right? Your stepdad, your biological dad, being in that street environment, right? For you getting out of that and getting into boxing, like how did boxing help with your mental health, right? Because I'm sure it played a part in it.
oh yeah, it kept me focused. It kept my mind always thinking and turning, and it was a better high than a narcotic high. I felt so much better, so much healthier, and it was great. It still is. Just it kept me focused on the bigger picture, and through boxing, I mean, everything falls into place. You meet so many different.
Hmm.
You're around successful people. You're around people, that are trying to get their lives better, and it's a blessing. It really was.
One of the beautiful things about boxing, right? And, in my private practice, I tell my clients, right? And these are my clients who are into boxing, but, I talk about, if you can just focus when so much in your life is out of your control, right? If you can focus, I like to call them the three pillars, right? And shout out to Dr. Stutz, right? This is his material, right? He talks about the three pillars in life, right? He calls it the life force. I call it the three pillars. But if you could focus on your physical health, social connection, and your identity, right? The outside stuff, just it's still there, but you don't allow yourself to get consumed by it because you're focusing on these three areas that you can control. And boxing, right, hits on these three pillars, right? I mean, obviously, right, you're not going to get any other kind of workout that you get in the boxing gym.
No,
you know Boxing is a way for you to, there's no environment, I think, no sport more welcoming than boxing, regardless of your background. And you obviously get that in a boxing gym, right? Meeting new people, they're all there doing the same thing. And right,
yeah,
everybody's going through something, right? And it's, you share that commonality.
yeah. It's just a safe place.
Right. And it also builds on your identity. I mean, what does Coach Rick say? He says boxing doesn't build character, right? It reveals character.
Yeah,
Hey.
that's who you are. Once I used to let a lot of things, slide and go with people, and the bad people I used to hang out with. And
Mhm.
you start boxing, you build the confidence, and you're confident. You just don't let people walk all over you. And it's
Mhm.
a good thing. It helps um, your ability to strive in this world and not take any crap, but
Yeah.
still be a very personable person, and a likable person.
Thing about boxing, why it's I think as humans, right, I believe it's just a human characteristic for us to want to seek external validation, right? And obviously, right, with you growing up, right, you sought that, right? Okay, and your biological dad who wasn't around, or your stepdad, right, who wasn't the best father figure, right? And you tried seeking that in the streets, right, in the gang environment, right? And these are all external validation, right? Like, and but not saying, we also need to give ourselves that internal validation, really the key, right? People want to call it a cliche, but it's so true, right? You need that self-love, right? And that's that internal validation. And boxing gives you that, right? Because you work on your craft, right? And then, right, you put what you practiced in sparring or in your fight, and then you win, and there's just, right, no other feeling.
Oh yeah, so great. You just want to keep going, keep thriving, learning new moves, 100%.
And so now, coach, right, you're 18, 19, you really got into boxing, and you were at a point, right, where I'm sure you yourself knew and your coaches backed it up, right, that no, like, I got what it takes, right, to take my boxing to the next step, right? And not a lot of people have the boxing accolades that you do. So let's get into that. So, like, out of the many highlights of your boxing career, like, let's talk about that, right? What were the highlights of your boxing career?
I fought, every weekend, to fight in the first national championships to accumulate a certain amount of fights that they require in order to fight there. So that was a good experience, going in different towns, just putting my skills to use and display. But I had a the experience, I guess, of what I'm trying to say is being in the ring with individuals that are in your community. Like, I had one fight with a guy named Jacob Scalazzi, great guy. He's an awesome person, and in and out of the ring. Our first fight, I was winning the first round, and I ended up tripping and fell right into it. Ended up breaking my nose, and the fight was stopped because my nose was just gushing, and it was wouldn't stop. But went back to the drawing board. Second fight, fought again. Ended up beating him, and we remained friends till this day. And so that was a good experience there. And then fighting in the Golden Gloves, and my first Golden Gloves, I fought the 3-time Golden Glove champion. He had about 72 fights, only had 10 or 12 that time, and did okay with him, and but he beat me with the jab. Right after that, man, we next Golden Gloves comes up, and at each one, man, I beat him, and just learning from that jab, and so learning that, getting that experience, that first experience, and capitalizing on what I need to improve on is what I did, and yeah, so that was a good experience.
Yeah, so I know you had a very successful amateur background, and then just qualifying for the Olympic trials. How was that? How old were you when you qualified?
29 or 30.
Okay.
29 or 30. Went there, fought 3 times, ended up winning my first 2 fights, and then lost the third fight to a guy that I almost dumped him with the body shot, and he freaking he wrapped me up, and as I was pulling out, my right arm just messed it up. It like pulled out of socket, but it was enough to where it hurt to punch him, and then ended up losing that fight to decisions. So, but it was awesome. I knew when I wanted to go pro. One of my coaches told me that we gotta get down there and we gotta fight in the U.S. championships, and so that's what I did, and see how far I could, if I could actually make the Olympics. After that, I'm like, boxing is like a glass of water, right? You got a full glass of water, but the older you get, that water diminishes, right? And I only had some water left, but I still got, half that cup left, after my shoulder healed up. I believe I can still take on a couple fights.
Hey, that's the trend, man. We got all, these 40-plus-year-olds coming back. Pacquiao, right? Floyd's trying to come back. Andre Ward. But, you took a picture with Andre Ward. I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. You got to meet Andre Ward. And you were also in the qualifiers with Clarissa Shields.
Yeah, national championships.
Yeah.
Chatted with her for a little bit after the fight.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. I had a chance to spar her, but I was working when they were here, and she came down and worked with some of the kids at her gym.
Nice.
Where she was super famous and big. She's a really good person, so it was Andre Award.
Was that your toughest fight? That first? I mean, when you started off talking about that first fighter who you're still good friends with, or what would you say was is your toughest fight?
You know what? It's close. Yeah, it was. I fought out in Oregon at the. It was a Irish event, so they brought the U.S. or the Ireland team over from Ireland to fight U.S. And that fight, I ended up fighting a dog, man. This kid was a Mexican kid, and it was tough because my lungs were filled with, they had a big old tent. They had all these guys betting on amateurs. They were all in suits, big rich businessmen. Great event. It's held at the Kells pub out in Portland, and they do it every year. But I mean, when I got in that ring, man, I was just choking on smoke. And but fighting that kid, man, he was tough. He was a dog, and that was a super tough fight. Yeah, him and Jacob, those were my toughest fights.
And this was at the pro level. No, Jacob was amateur, right? And was amateurs. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
my pro fight was.
Definitely gonna get to that. But before we get there, what did you have any pre-fight rituals?
Yeah, I said a couple prayers. Had my cross on all the time, and we walked after we ate. We usually walked about a mile to digest the food, and then it was just bumming around all day on your butt,
Yeah.
not moving around, not fatiguing your legs.
Mhm.
But other than that, I just that was kind of what I did. I liked, one of my coaches told me not to get used to, favorite gloves or favorite trunks because you're just gonna get in your head when you forget those.
Okay.
So I try to remember that. I did have a few favorite trunks and gloves, but
So you had a 10-year amateur career, more or less,
yeah,
and then you turned pro at what, 29?
about 30, 31.
31. How was it? How was your first pro fight? Did it feel different? Like, were you more nervous? Did you do anything different?
No, it was not really. I mean, I was always training like a pro when I was in the amateurs. I pushed myself. Like I was doing stuff on my own and pushing myself. Sometimes coaches would come out there. That's what I try to do with my guys, like I try to be there as much as possible to make sure that they're working. I was training like a pro, and so nothing really different, just different, no headgear and hair. And I had a cut man this time, and a corner man. So, but yeah, it was exciting to
Yeah.
to a song.
You grinded, man, for sure. I remember you telling me you were pouring concrete, working long shifts, and you would still run what, 5 miles to practice.
5 miles there and 5 miles back.
Yeah, gosh, man.
That's why when people are like, "Oh, I'm tired," working at night,
Um,
like you ain't tired.
yeah, it's definitely a different generation for sure.
Yeah,
You know. Yeah, right. And that's why so far and few actually, right, have what it takes to be a pro, right? To make it to that pro level, right? And
yeah,
you're still a young guy, coach, and unfortunately I know your pro career got cut short.
yeah.
So talk to us about that. What happened, and how, just kind of what were you going through during that time?
Yeah. So I had with the promoter actually call us. They set the fight up. A lot of guys, they'll get their first fight, they'll get a stumble bum, and build their careers up off of that. But I never had that. I always fought tough guys. This guy I fought um, had a ton of amateur fights, and but the promoter called me up, and he really wanted me to fight this guy, and it was his guy, and he offered the winner $100,000 10 fight contract, and I would have got that contract. Was in there boxing beautifully, and I threw a left hook, missed the guy, and my shoulder popped out of place, and when it popped out, it broke a piece of bone. After that, I like jumped back, and he seen I was hurt, and he capitalized on it. His punches, didn't hurt. It was my shoulder, and so went back to the corner. Coach asked me what's wrong, what's going on, and I was like, dude, my shoulder. What do you want to do? I was like, dude, I've trained so hard, working concrete running to the gym, and on my weekends, missing time with the family to be successful at this. I'm gonna finish
Mm-hmm.
life. And so went back out there and turned southpaw. The guy was a southpaw, so and I was an orthodox fighter. Turned southpaw. I only had my jab. Every time I tried to throw my right or my left, it would I would be in extreme pain, and I ended up second round he went to faint, and so did I, and we clashed heads, and I ended up getting freaking a big old gash over my head. Ended up getting 13 stitches after the fight. Uh, they paid for that, but they didn't pay for my shoulder. I was having surgery on a Friday, got a call on Thursday, and I was told that I would if I could put the surgery off, and I said absolutely not. This is what I'm going to do. He said okay. Called me back on Friday. Said hey, CDC says that you're an elective surgery. We're putting you off because of supplies and stuff. So he was told he really felt how I felt, and I told him off, and ended up just healing with pain, consistent pain.
You made a conscious choice, right? To, you know what, you had to move forward with your life, right? And I mean, how was that? Were you going through a hard time knowing that, hey, yeah, I'm just kind of done with boxing?
It was very eye opening, and it just, I'm like, dude, this is everything to me. What am I gonna do now? And I got to focus this energy somewhere else. I ended up saying I'm gonna start a business and put all my energy into that. I prayed to God that it worked out, and I just said, Lord, just please, all the energy and focus and determination I put into my boxing, focus it on a business that I can grow for my children and myself. And so I did. That's what I did.
And this was your construction business, right?
Construction, yep. It was a construction business. After a few years, I opened up a coffee shop and had a boxing gym as well. Yeah.
Did you feel like you always had that entrepreneurial mindset, or did it come as a result of boxing?
It was, it was, I did. I had that. When I was a kid, I used to pretend I was a salesman selling baseball cards and built little stands. And yeah, I've always had it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You also had to have that kind of mentality, right, when you were in the street life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out there, trying to make a buck.
Which thankfully, right, that transferred over to boxing really well, and into your right businesses that you ran, and now, right, you have your insurance business. Tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Yeah, so ultimately, construction, it was very overwhelmed. I overwhelmed myself. My mindset was, Tony Robbins has, 120 businesses stopping me from doing it, right? And
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur, you fail forward. And if
Mhm.
you're not trying, you're not pushing yourself to succeed. And I tried, I just grew too fast. And so, construction, I was wearing the tool bags as well as delegating tasks to guys, and I burnt myself out doing that and having the other two businesses. Getting my life insurance license towards the end after I shut down my construction business and the coffee shop, and started to sell life insurance. Wanted to take it super serious, and I told myself I got to build a business where I can go out and talk with people and network, because network is your net worth, and real estate or insurance. And I chose insurance because people are always going to need insurance and residuals off of it, and you can pass it on to your kids. And so I got into PNC as well, property
Mhm.
casualty, and the first 2 years was rough trying to get my name out there. I didn't stop, and I had a boss from the upper management come in, and he said something snarky to me, like my numbers weren't high, and he was
Mhm.
talking about numbers, and I looked at the projector screen, and I was like thinking to myself, like, I can do that. And he's like, Tony over there, he's like, look at that look on his face, because he's not writing that. And I'm like, oh, you don't know me.
Mhm.
Yeah, you don't know me. And so after that, just lit a fire under my butt, and yeah, yeah. Now I'm one of the top producing agents in the office. So
There you go. Which, right, I mean, the adversity you've gone through, coach, and just how you've responded to it beautifully, definitely builds that resilience, right? That grind, right? That's always there. So, obviously, you're a coach. So, when did you start coaching, right? And why did you want to get into coaching?
well, I ended up parting ways with my my coach of many years, and leaving the gym to him because ultimately the space that I got into, I got it for the boxing gym, and I still wanted to stay in the game. Me and him, we're good now. Just two differences and different mindsets, and uh, just couldn't really coach together or run a business together. Because I was trying to run a business and he was not really understanding that at the time. And so I went down to the Spokane boxing gym and volunteered down there, helped coach. And one day, Rick asked me to be the head coach, and so I said, yeah, cool, I'll do that. And it's been very rewarding. I love seeing these guys excel off of what you teach them and coach them. And when they listen, they win. When they don't win. So, but yeah, it's been an amazing experience. And the long term goal is I'm gonna end up buying the gym from Rick and owning it.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. When that happens, right? I gotta be the first person that you call. Well, your wife and then me, right?
Yeah, you're coming back.
We'll see, coach. We'll
Yeah.
see. And kind of just going a little bit back into your boxing career, coach. What was an unseen battle that people just didn't know about that you were going through during your boxing career?
After my after the when I was a kid, when I was a teenager.
All of it.
Just the living situation with my stepdad. After I was just uh, staying away from the the individuals I grew up with, staying away from the streets and trying to stay on the right straight and narrow with my kid, from a kid. A battle, or just battling myself mentally on how I'm gonna continue to grow and excel, and can I do this? Of course you can do it. Always telling myself, but didn't really have a battle with the addiction because it's just how much once an addict, always an addict, I guess they say, but I just never want to go touch that ever. And so didn't really battle that, but just mentally battling myself, on just everyday things. So.
Is there anything that you felt you've learned from just your adversity, right? These unseen battles that a lot of people around you probably didn't know that you were suffering, right, while you were a boxer. Was there anything that you just learned from your adversity?
Yeah, keep going, work hard. Just don't let there's going to be individuals out there that's always going to look down upon you because you're growing and excelling, even some of the closest people to you. But if you want to be, you want to excel in life, you got to block them out, not listen to them, not let them get to you, and just surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And that's what boxing has brought to me. Other business individuals, other people that are seeing success, and listening to the naysayers. Sometimes I thought, like, oh man, they're right. But then I said, no, they're not, dude. You got this. You're Tessitore. You got this.
Yeah.
So my grandpa, he's a successful businessman over in the Philippines. He has a businesses down in Vegas and business down in the Philippines. I'm not Filipino, but he's married to a Filipina. But it's in my blood. It's in my blood to be an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Do you believe the adversity you faced, throughout your life, do you feel like it's made you a better coach?
Oh yeah. I'm able to understand these guys, and what they're going through. If a guy's having a bad day and they, get mouthy, I just tell myself, like, dude, come on, you don't know their story, you understand what they're going through, and I talk them through it. Instead of being hot-headed, like, who you talking to, man? Like, I'm able to talk with them, pull them aside, understand what they're going through, and help them get through it. Absolutely made me a way better listener and way better coach.
And that's so valuable, right? Because like you, coach, there's a lot of kids out there that don't have the best homes, don't live in the safest environments, right? And what pulls them to the gym, right, is from people like yourself, right, who've gone through what they've gone through. And obviously boxing is a very accessible and affordable sport compared to the other sports out there.
Yeah.
So to have somebody that can put, themselves in their shoes, that definitely is what it's all about. And that goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
100%.
And what advice can you give, right, to, boxers, right, kids, boxers that, are going through something, right, and are too just, afraid to speak up, right? I mean, especially since you've faced so much adversity, coach, what advice can you give to boxers, right, who are struggling mentally, emotionally?
Don't give up, man. Don't let the individuals who are not where you want to be get into your head. Them, get out of that, circle that you're in. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and don't give up. Keep going. You got this. If you put your mind to it, you're going to succeed. If you put the work in, you're going to succeed. You gotta set yourself up for success, and that starts with determination and willpower. I guess the advice I give to them is, if I could do it, they can do it. You just gotta really, put your head down and work and thrive.
This is coming from somebody, right, who's got a second chance at life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Man, shout out boxing, man. Boxing, right? As we've talked about, coach, boxing saves lives.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many lives. It saved my life. Seen so many people cycle through the boxing gym that trying to straighten their lives up. Even some people I grew up with, and there's not one. I don't give them like a snarky look. I'm like, dude, I'm so proud of you. You made it. You're making it.
And you being a boxer yourself, coach, what do you do to take care of your mental health now, right? That maybe you just didn't do while you were boxing. Like, what helps you take care of your mental health currently?
Working.
Mhm.
Once I started this insurance business, man, you got to obsess yourself with something that's you're gonna grow. And so I watch podcasts. I look at different business plans on how I can grow, networking events. That's one thing. And surrounding myself with loved ones, my wife, my daughter, and the gym. I run to keep my mind straight. Even though I've haven't ran in a few weeks, I need to get back to it, getting good. And reading helps.
Yeah. Well, I think also, right, you like to help people, obviously, as a coach, right? Obviously, right, you're not really getting paid much, right, to coach. So you do it out of just, right, you wanting to help other kids, right, who have gone through what you've gone through.
Yeah, absolutely. That it's very rewarding to help them and know their stories. Absolutely.
Right. And again, right, boxing gives people these social connection, identity, and obviously, right, getting in shape.
Yeah, getting in shape opens doors to many things. Boxing does save lives, 100%.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years, like personally, professionally, coach?
Personally, I see myself, coaching, a couple of pros, still coaching amateur, and professionally having a very successful insurance business with multiple properties. I have a duplex right now, and I plan to have maybe 2 or 3 more in 5 years. I guess just really excelling in the boxing world. Becoming a better coach.
Right on. And is there anything you just want for my audience to know that maybe you don't want to leave unsaid?
Yeah, call me. My number is 509-294-6231. If you guys need auto, home, or life, my name's Tony T with Comparing on Insurance. Tony T at Comparing on Insurance Agency is my Facebook. And if you put in Tony T on Instagram, Tony T Insurance, I'll pop up. Got to work on the Instagram though. My Facebook's thriving. So
Yeah. And then I will also make sure, coach, to put your information on the show notes.
yeah, and if anybody wants to talk about boxing or if they're going through something, more than happy to talk them through it.
And if any of my listeners are in the Spokane area, planning to be in the Spokane area, you can also find Tony at Spokane Boxing Gym. It's a really great gym.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. Lupe, when he was down at our gym, was our mental health coach and did amazing with our guys. Really appreciate that, Lupe.
Thanks, Coach. Yeah, it was a really, yeah, that first match that I got to help out at, that first tournament I got to help out in at Montana was just surreal.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed it, man. And, unfortunately, my time in Spokane was cut a little short, but this is why I started this podcast, right? Because just wanted to reach a larger audience, advocate for boxing and mental health, and just help boxers, aspiring boxers, right? Just a safe space for them, and my job as a mental health professional to advocate for them, because there is just obviously, right? I mean, a lot of politics in boxing, and just in athletics in general, right? So much you can get caught up too much in the sport, and people start just not viewing that boxer as a whole, right? Because they're more than just a boxer at the end of the day, right? um, I like to say boxing is a part of your life and it's great, but it's not your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Appreciate you for being my first official guest on my show. And who knows, right? Maybe we'll get you on some future episodes, bring you back.
Yeah, big dog.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man. All right. See you, Coach. Thank you.
See you guys.